Welcome to the New Voices Playwrights Theater stage career of Impossible Dreams. This is New Voices' 20th year producing new works for the Southern California community. They go Gayland. My name is Lynn Boland. I'm on the board of directors as a treasurer. And I would like you to also know that we have a wonderful production here, the marvelous Wonderettes.
Oh, yay. Have to see it.
We encourage you to see that tonight. It is the West Coast premiere, and tonight is closing night. And at this time, we would like to thank Nick Charles and Julie Charles, owners of this beautiful theater. Our next production will be Holiday Voices 2017 from December 2 to December 10. Those are the first 2 weekends in December, so please mark your calendars and plan to join us then. Let's see what else. If there is an emergency, you go back the same way you came. We ask that you unwrap your candies and silence your noisemakers, such as your cell phones. And I think that's just about it. Oh, there will be a 15-minute intermission, and there will be a break right after the final performance. And then, after that, we will have an audience talk-back session with all the actors, or most of the actors, the director, and the playwright. So that'll be a lot of fun. So please stay if you can. Right? Without further ado, Impossible Dreams.
Impossible Dreams by Mark Bowen. Based on the life of Tony Conigliaro, his team's 1967 championship season, and another Boston icon whose campaign of the following year would use the same theme song. Act 1, The Homeless Encampment, February 1990. At center stage is a trash can fire, over which several members of the cast are standing, trying to keep warm. Other cast members lie scattered around various parts of the stage. At the back of the stage is a backdrop that will allow for future transitions to scene locations in Mike's and Tony's imaginations that can be projected onto it. Mike is sleeping downstage in his old army uniform. As the lights come up, he begins to stir, talking in his sleep.
Now batting for Boston, the right fielder, number 25.
A gunshot is heard. Mike reacts as if hit. Continuous machine gun fire continues to be heard as he continues to go through his flashback. And Tony, as he looked through his crime, walks on stage.
Oh, I'm shot. Oh, somebody call a medic. No, get down. Oh, fucking good bastards. Oh, they got Manny. Somebody help Lopez. Oh, please, get me some morphine. Please get me some morphine.
Buddy.
No. Somebody, please.
All right, it's all right.
Please get me some morphine. Here.
Offering him a water bottle.
Who the hell are you?
A friend. Here, have some more water.
Tony crosses to the trash can at the center stage.
Is that what this shit is? No wonder. I need something a lot stronger.
No, you don't. Not now.
My God. I suppose you're an angel.
Just for a season.
Just for a season.
Something like that.
I knew it. Why else would you wake me instead of one of these? I usually wake up wake up right after when they shoot Manny. Ring of morphine. Wake up calls usually more like, shut the fuck up, you crazy bastard.
No, I don't think he can hear us.
So, this is the end of the road.
He reminds me, in an odd sort of way, of Freddie.
Who's ready?
It's amazing when you think about it after these past 8 years, how liberating it feels just to see people like you and
I suppose you enjoyed seeing us in our lives.
No, I'm not. It feels just the way you'd expect it to feel. But at least it feels. If only we appreciated that fact while we still had the chance. Recognize that there is majesty even in the filth. We wouldn't turn our backs on the celebrations of all the beauty. Sit crying in front of our lockers in the midst of our greatest triumphs.
What are you talking about?
You'll see.
Are you here to take me away or something?
No, I'm not here for you. I'm here for Freddie.
Who the hell is Freddie?
Frederick Anderson. I lost my best friend in Vietnam too. I know sometimes it's hard for us to live by the ground rules that have been set down for us. You and I may not have made them, but we've got to play by them.
How the hell is somebody just an angel for a season?
You know, most of my friends and family were shocked by the trade. After the comeback, I'd even recovered to have my best season ever. But then, yeah, the eyesight was worsening just like they'd expected. But, you know, I think it's mostly that me and Anaheim were just never really a good fit.
Anaheim?
Yeah, maybe you're not the only crazy bastard out here. My manager out there said I ought to have my head examined after my outburst in Oakland.
In Oakland?
The rules were pretty clear over whether I got to run to first on a drop third strike when that base was already occupied.
Oh my God.
Not that you and I both didn't know the rules we were playing by, but with all we've been through, it just made it that much more tempting to want to just stand there arguing with the call and get ourselves thrown out of the game. For me, it certainly didn't help to see Dick Williams, of all people, sitting in the opposite dugout, smirking.
Oh my God, it's you.
The backdrop is illuminated by images and or videos of Tony in his glory days. And we hear the sounds of a cheering crowd. Mike goes back over to where he'd been sleeping and searches for something.
Tony, can I call you Tony?
Of course.
Can you do something for me?
Yeah, what's that?
Mike finds the bat he was looking for and comes back to Tony.
I need you to sound a bat.
That's not why I'm here. I told you it.
The backdrop is now illuminated with images of Arlington National Cemetery. 2 eulogies, twin eulogies.
What I remember most about Frederick Anderson was his ability to see the good in people. All people. Even the kinds of guys like myself that a lot of the other guys at St. Mary's thought was a real jerk.
Manuel Lopez was the person who first helped me to really understand the significance of our national motto, E pluribus unum. That whatever our national origins, we are all Americans.
The fact that they all usually came to the conclusion that I was a great guy once they got to know me was the fact that there was a guy like Frederick Anderson there to speak up for me, to let them know that I deserved that chance.
And he was just the type to foolishly give his life, coming to the aid of his falling comrade. We should have known better than to call it.
He was the type who gave his life for his country by not dodging the draft, while the college boys sought deferments and the big league ball players did their service to their country in the reserves. I have lost a good friend, but my country has lost a great man.
We hear the sound of a 21-gun salute and the playing of taps, and then the images of Arlington disappear in the backdrop.
So you're dodging the draft?
What else would you call it?
You know, there are a lot of others in your position who found their ways.
And there were lots more in yours who couldn't avoid going to war.
What, you think I blame you for my life?
Maybe.
You still blame Jack Hamilton?
Lights up on Jack, upstage in an angel's uniform, watching over the scene like a ghost.
You still think it was a spitter?
Oh, come on, just look at that. What the hell kind of unit do you think you're running here? Check the ball, check the ball. Well, you need to instruct him to wipe off his fingers after every pitch.
I just felt so bad about the whole thing. I wanted to sit down and meet with you and let you know.
Let's just leave the issue the way it is.
But with your wrists, nobody could throw past you, Tony. You were just a natural fastball hitter.
Yeah, but I had trouble with the breaking pitches, especially over the outside.
Well, that's how we all pitched you.
So to compensate, I crowded the plate so I could reach that outside corner.
And our solution to that was the obvious one. Pitch inside to back you off. That plate belongs to us too, and it's our job to take it back from the batter.
And then one got away.
One got away.
Jack mimes pitching the imaginary ball as the lights go out on him. Tony reacts to being beamed in the face and collapses.
The doctors told you that the patient had been 2 inches lower. He'd have been dead. But the cheekbone was shattered, and the bone fragments lost hit your eye socket, almost causing blindness.
When I regained consciousness and took my first look at my face in the mirror, I could make out the imprint of the stitches from the ball.
Well, they waited all night for that tragic phone call from Dr. Tierney. But once it became apparent that you were going to live, everyone expected you'd return to the lineup in just a couple weeks.
But I didn't.
You didn't. Your next visit to the doctors indicated that your eye had gotten worse. A cyst had developed on the retina.
So I followed the rest of the pennant race on television. Until that moment, I'd never been a spectator at a baseball game in my entire life.
Of course not. Why would you?
Not even at the ballpark, and certainly not on television.
But you know, the Sox did do everything that they could to help you know that you were still part of the team. Well, they even got a waiver from the commission that would let you sit on the bench in uniform as the 26th man on the roster, even throughout the World Series. And yet, as the team clinched the pennant on the final day of the season, you just... Wait, that's what you meant. That's what you referred to when you were saying that during the celebration you were crying during your triumphs, wasn't it?
Yes.
The whole team just celebrated in the clubhouse. You just sat in front of your locker and cried. What was that?
Baseball is a game to be played, not watched.
Goddamn right.
I couldn't stand leaving it at that.
Well, what's wrong with that? You earned the right to feel that way. Come on, tell me more. How did you say it made you feel when you were watching that shit on TV?
That was a long time ago.
Oh, come on, man. What did you tell those reporters?
I said that whenever I watched it on TV, I just wanted to charge right through the screen and pick up a bat. But I knew I couldn't. I didn't know if I ever could again.
But you did.
Yes, I did.
You had guts, man. You were... And yet it still was never the same.
No, it wasn't.
Ultimately, it still did end your career, did it?
Yes. But I'm past all that now. You're not.
Tony pulls a Viet Cong flag out of his pocket.
What the hell is that?
One of the soldiers I visited during my USO tour the following winter gave me this captured Viet Cong flag. Something to remember him by, but that's not the only thing I took home with me from that trip. When I got home, I had perspective. I was done feeling sorry for myself. I had an eye injury from a baseball game. And even if I never played again, what did that add up to compared to these kids losing their lives and coming home with broken bodies?
Well, that's what you wrote in your autobiography.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, how was that eye holding up during that tour?
Just like all the rest. Of all the suffering I saw, that's all they wanted to know. Everywhere I went, it was always, "Hey, Tony, how's the guy?" I think now it's your turn. Why don't you tell me about that pitch that you got hit with?
Life is the bitch that hit me.
That's not what you said a moment ago. Right before I woke you, you didn't blame it on a world that was against you personally. You blamed it on, what was that? That fucking goop bastard.
The backdrop was lit with images that place us in Vietnam. Lights back up on Jack, wearing the hat of a Vietnamese peasant and holding an AK-47.
Let's just leave it the way it is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I did get past it. I was crowding the plate and you did what you had to do.
Jack points the rifle at him and fires as the lights go out on him.
I don't blame him. I blame that lying son of a bitch Johnson who ordered me to crowd a plate that it should have been crowded in the first place.
People like you that caused us to lose that war.
The nation must not be allowed to go Marxist just because its people are irresponsible.
We must destroy this village in order to save it.
If you got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow.
If the president does it, that means it's not illegal.
So what? You've been carrying this around since '67 to remember the impossible dream season, huh? No?
Missed the rest of season 2.
Missed it?
Yeah, a different pitch than we remember.
Oh.
So, they all asked you that, huh?
What?
On the tour, they all asked you that same question. Like, how's the eye?
Yeah.
Guess that's why you wouldn't remember me.
Oh, I remember. Like it was yesterday.
You do?
Of course I remember you. I remember them all.
That's why you're here, isn't it? Do you remember what I said to you?
Yeah, you got Kedrowski and some of the other members of the '67 team to sign already.
Yeah, I was collecting those signatures before I got my draft. It was after I got beamed. I guess I kind of lost interest.
Lost interest.
It kind of made me reconsider why we spent so much of our miserable existence chasing after that.
Chasing after what?
You know.
No, I don't. Why don't you tell me?
Oh, how in the hell did they ever get the idea to go with that?
You go with what?
That hokey theme song from that season. That goddamn tune she tortured me with the whole summer. Whenever it was, she was running around the country with a bunch of...
Well, who are we talking about, Mike?
Never mind. Forget it.
She tortured you with it?
That's what I said, isn't it?
It's not what you thought back when you were...
No. Let's just leave it the way it is, okay? I'm older and wiser now. So much of our lives we just spend chasing after that which is illusory, that which we are promised with those storybook 2 outs at the bottom of the 9th endings.
Sometimes those endings are real, you know.
Oh, of course. Which is all the more reason why we got to just keep our eye on the ball and not swing at the shit that's in the dirt. We gotta just... You know, people prefer to chase the illusion while they let what is real just slip right through their fingers.
And you're a fine one to talk?
Hey, we didn't set the ground rules, remember? They did. And I chose not to play in the ballpark they designed.
Are you satisfied with that decision?
Maybe. What I'm not happy with is the options their umpires left me with. There was a time that we had other options. The chance to pursue dreams that were real, that were staring right at us, right in front of us.
Somebody made you the authority on just what is and isn't real?
Cluelessness is not one of the afflictions I came home with from the war. The impossible dream.
My only promise when I took the job was to win more than we lost.
If that's what the season really was, I've always wondered how they pulled it out.
Something they hadn't done since '58.
Let's try to pay a little closer attention to the vocabulary that we all supposedly agreed upon, huh?
And then came Kedrowski.
Images of Kedrowski come up on his backdrop of the group chorus resembles.
Single greatest performance to carry a club to a championship ever.
.522 batting average in the final 2-week home stretch. 5 home runs and 16 RBIs.
5 RBIs in the final 2-game series with Minnesota, which came into the series leading by a game.
Game 1, 3-run homer to win the game and pull even in the standings.
Game 2 clincher. RBI base hit to start the come-from-behind rally in the 6th. Threw Allison out in 2nd and a Twins rally and possible comeback in the 8th.
Last play in either league to win the Triple Crown.
Shut the fuck up.
Michael, honey,
I'm not going to Canada. I have to...
all right. But you have a week before you leave for boot camp. Well, let's make the most of it. Let's go stay with my uncle in New York. We can go and see a Broadway show. Oh, Uncle Frank could probably even get us tickets to Mammal with Matcha. You remember, don't you, Michael?
Remember what?
Our first date at the local community theater.
That wasn't Man of La Mancha. That was Camelot. I started collecting these signatures, you know, when I bought this gift at the shop back at the Opener of the JFK at Fenway.
JFK Day.
The Zapruder film plays projected on the background.
Naturally, it hit us here, the Commonwealth, harder than anywhere else in the nation. Jack Kennedy, after all, was our hometown boy. Political reporter Mary McElroy said it best. We'll never laugh again. And then we heard about somebody else. Somebody who also was one of ours. The kid who had been the New York Penn League Rookie of the Year, the MVP the year before. Almost signed with the Orioles, but he decided to go with Boston because that was his hometown team. Who's ever heard of a top prospect doing that? Huh? And when the game, whose proceeds were going to the Kennedy Library, got underway, the crowd, it included writers, sports writers, legends, the Attorney General, looking for somebody local to fill his brother's shoes. And with the hearts and minds of the people of Boston,
Don't forget the press.
the press.
Yes, they needed me too, and for entirely different reasons. When Williams retired in 1960, he took all the glamour with him. They were desperate to create a new legend.
And you were not the kind to disappoint them.
No, I wasn't. Not even in the winter before the season began. Yastrzemski had won the batting title the year before, but he wasn't the kind of guy to bask in the limelight. Me? I lived for it.
No, that wasn't it at all. Batting championships don't mean shit to sport writers. Never has. How many home runs did Yastrzemski hit? How many home runs did Yastrzemski hit during that batting championship season of 16? Go on, how many?
14.
14. The press understands the importance of glamour in America's pastime. And that glamour has never been with a singles hitter. It's been with the guy that can just hit them right out of the park. Oh, and that stance of his, he had a back foot up in the air at 90 degrees vertical, and that little hitch, oh, that hitch. I mean, how the hell do you get to pull a ball around when it takes you that long to go around it? But Tony C, right-handed, dead pull hitter playing at Fenway. It was Yastrzemski who said it. He said himself about you, remember?
Oh yeah. If he'd stayed healthy, without a doubt, he would have hit 500 home runs playing in Fenway Park.
He hit home runs in the ballpark in his sleep. That's what you wanted, wasn't it, Tony? It wasn't about making big leagues or about the pennants and world championships, was it, Tony?
Nope. No, it wasn't.
But you knew what it was you really wanted out of life. What did you tell the reporters when they asked you if you thought you had the potential to turn out to be as good as Williams?
I said no. Better than Williams.
Damn straight. You wanted nothing less than to be the best that there ever was.
Yeah, Hitler wanted to be a great artist.
No. Don't do that. Don't you fucking do that. You know, every kid does have his dreams.
So did you.
Yeah, but like I said, yours and mine were real. It's those that aren't that ruin it for the rest of us. 500 runs. Shit. If it wasn't for Jack Hamilton, it would have been my record that he'd be chasing, not Hank Aaron's. And every fan my age knew you were going to do it. To us, you were one of our own, man. More than anybody else knew. You were the baby boomer kid who hated authority, who used to sign his bonus to buy a Corvette. I mean, you even dated a Playboy model,
Mammy Van Doren.
Mammy Van Doren, who cried at Jack Kennedy's funeral, who cut a rock and roll record. What was the name of it?
Playing the field.
Yeah, Playing the Field.
Yeah.
You were the kid who got in trouble with his managers for bringing his record player on the plane, playing Elvis, the Beatles, and all the rest of that new music that Williams' generation told us we were going to go to hell for listening to. And even Yash was born during the war, so that didn't even count. He wasn't really one of us.
Yeah, way to go. Come on, rookie.
When me and the boys ditched school to sneak into Fenway that afternoon, we were ready to welcome Boston's new hero. And in the first pitch thrown to you at Fenway, we had him.
You had him.
First pitch at Fenway to the rookie who crowds the plate to reach the outside breaking pitches he has trouble with is a belt-high fastball right down the center of the plate.
He's swinging.
Yes, Mike. I did cry when they shot Jack Kennedy.
Lights up on Judy. She holds a letter that she reads out loud.
Kennedy is dead. What can I say? Cried the same as you cried. He's gone, and God has a great man by his side. Just goes to show you, anyone can die at any time. So while we're alive, we should be grateful and enjoy life.
She puts the letter aside.
Do you really mean that, Tony? Why can't we start now, you and me?
Oh, absolutely.
So that means we can. You remember what we talked about last winter at the dance?
Judy, honey, there's no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, I've always wanted to marry you. You know that. Ever since I first met you. It's just like...
What is it, Tony? Isn't that hope chest? Look, I know Mother makes a big deal about old-fashioned...
No, it's not that at all. I'm thinking about the future, our life together. About you and me making one. Give me some time to make it. And I'm gonna. That is when I'll be able to provide for you and give you the home and the life that you deserve.
Tony, it isn't any of those things I'm thinking about. All that really matters is that we're together.
I know, Judy. That's what's important to me, too. Really, it is. But traveling around, I see those older players on the road with me, ones who tried to start a family back when they were our age. I see the periodic visits from the kids they hardly ever get to see. Kids who barely know their own fathers.
It doesn't have to be like that. You heard that riddle about the ball game, right? The one where the home team wins with that rally in the bottom ninth?
Scored 5 runs, but not one single man crossed home plate safely?
Yes, that one, Tony. How was that possible?
Because all the players that scored were married! I remember that.
You know, if it's about that culture...
No, I told you it's not.
My mother says things like that publicly, but how important silly old traditions are. But privately, she knows what's really important. She told me the other day that it really isn't necessary.
That's just the thing, Judy. It is. When we're ready to do this, it's going to be because I'm ready to do it right. I'm going to get you that. And everything else a girl like you deserves. But look, the team bus is about to leave. We'll talk about this more when I get home.
When is that going to be? When am I going to see you again, Tony?
Soon. The season's going to be over in a couple weeks. I'll be making the big club for sure next year. I'll be back in Boston and we'll see each other all the time.
All right. Goodbye, Tony. I love you.
Bye.
Tony, can't you say it?
I love you too, sweetheart.
Lights out on Judy as Billy walks down stage to the new scene inside a nightclub.
Dad said he was driving down Western Avenue in Lynn this afternoon and passed by Young's Furniture Store.
Yeah?
He saw your car parked outside.
So?
You were with Freddie Anderson.
Yeah?
Dad watched from the outside and went in after you left. Talked to the manager. Said you purchased a brand new cedar oak chest. Tony, you know how Dad feels about...
Tony!
Judy!
Oh, darling, it's so good to see you. I miss you when you're so badly when you're away.
Oh, I miss you too, baby. I've got a little surprise for you. Wait here.
Hello, Billy.
Judy, it's good to see you.
How's your mother?
She's fine. Look,
He's
Judy,
interrupted as the song finishes and we hear the sound of applause from the other patrons at the nightclub. Tony is heard from upstage.
Okay, that was great. How's everybody doing tonight? All right.
The
Hey,
spotlight appears on Tony upstage, holding the microphone.
hi, I'm Tony Conigliaro. You'll be seeing me out at Fenway Park this April, playing right field for the Sox. All right, but for now, I'd like to dedicate this next song to somebody very special. Judy, honey, this one's for you.
Music starts as he sings Elvis's Can't Help Falling in Love. When the song finishes, he walks back to the table and gives Judy a kiss.
Oh, that was just for you, sweetheart. The girl I'm gonna marry.
Of course. Can't tie the knot with someone until you've embarrassed her in public.
Judy!
Oh, It's okay, honey. Listen, I'm going to the ladies' room. Your brother says he needs to talk to you alone for a minute.
All right, hurry back.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
I don't know what you mean.
I think you know exactly what I mean.
Is this why you invited me and Judy here tonight?
Listen, if there's one thing that all those years of practice with Dad and Uncle Vinny taught you, it's that you're a lousy ball player if you don't play hard every second. Put every bit of your effort and concentration into it.
I don't believe this. I haven't seen Judy in almost a month. On my first night back, you already
Tony, you're 19. You can't get tied down right now.
I don't want to talk about this. Not now.
You got a gift, Tony. You've got the potential for greatness, the greatest there ever was, the greatest there ever will be. Don't throw it away.
Lights out on Billy and come up with Tony and Judy.
Judy. We have to break up.
What?
Judy, I love you more than anything. I'll always love you, but I have to do this.
What did I do?
I have to concentrate on my career. I have to. I always said that I did it because I knew I was too young, that I couldn't stand the thought of being married at 19.
What you mean by that?
Yeah,
Mom knew that Dad was the one that broke you up. He said it was either Judy or baseball.
I saw her again a couple years later.
As Billy goes off, lights come back up on Judy. We are back in 1990. She is holding a handful of letters.
I never get rid of the hope chest. I've kept all the letters you've sent me inside for the past 20 years.
Spring 1966. I was on the on-deck circle, casually looked up at the crowd. There you were.
Yes. I was sitting with my mother right behind the home dugout.
And toward the end of the game, I wrote something on a little slip of paper and tossed it to you, and I thought no one would notice.
Everyone did, of course. The whole crowd wanted to know what the star of the team was giving to this girl nobody knew.
You still have it?
Of course, I still have it. Mother kept pestering me to open it and tell her what it said. Everyone was staring at me, and I told her I couldn't.
But when you got home,
No, I couldn't. It's been 20 years, and all the time I just haven't had the strength.
do you think maybe now, after all these years?
I love you too, Tony.
Yes, Mike. Like so many Americans our age, that was the winter during which I buried a good deal of my innocence with the president. But for some of us, that innocence is a commodity that all the acres at Arlington don't have a plot large enough for. And yes, you could say I was the type of kid that hated authority. Some kinds a lot more than others. With Dick Williams, the generation gap was just too acute. A guy like him and a guy like me were bound to clash sooner or later.
Conigliaro, turn that hat around.
He grew up in poverty during the Depression, struggled for years in the minors before getting his shot. And then an injury assured that his playing career would never really take off.
Tuck those damn shirt tails in. Hey, what did I tell you? That's a $50 fine.
My diehard fans used to say that he got on me because he was jealous of me. I knew better. But there are certain things that can't simply be attributed to belonging to the prejudices of his generation.
I tried to visit you in the hospital, but I was turned away.
Yeah, I know. They wouldn't let anybody in but immediate family into the room. Not even my roommate.
Yes.
Hey, at least you made the effort.
We were all very upset about the beating and tried almost immediately to visit Conigliaro in the hospital. The team owner, Tom Yaki, said no. Not just in the beginning. Every time I tried to visit him, Yaki said no. He allowed only himself that privilege.
I wasn't aware that your club kept its manager under lock and key. Tapped his phone, opened his mail.
Most of my teammates seemed to find a way.
Tried to come back the next season.
I got a few hits in spring training, but they were just lucky guesses. I couldn't see the ball.
Hey, I was the one who had to put up with things like his comeback from eye trouble. Yes, it was a brave and impressive effort he made. But Conigliaro soured everybody by expecting all of us to treat him like royalty. I don't think there's anything wrong with his vision other than what he says to the press.
Yeah, I thought Dick was a baseball manager, not an eye doctor. Buddy, I need to talk to Dick. I need to be excused from today's game with Minnesota. I have a sore throat.
I don't want to talk to him. If he spent less time in those baller rooms and more time at the ballpark, he could be a pretty good ball player.
Buddy, put that guy on the phone.
When he starts acting like the rest of the boys, he'll be treated like the rest of the boys.
Son of a, I'm gonna kill him. Get him on the phone now.
I don't want to talk to him.
Buddy, put that bastard on the phone. I'm coming down. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him.
Tony slumps to the ground, clutching the bat. Red Sox trainer Buddy LeBrow approaching, and he looks up.
Buddy, it's not the throat. Don't you understand? I can't see. It's all over. My comeback would have to wait until the next season. I would miss the entire 1968 season.
He did it without his butt last year, and we'll do it without his butt this year.
They didn't. The Sox would finish fourth, 17 games behind but Detroit. But I'm sure you knew all that, didn't you, Mike? Mike?
Lights up on Mike's sleeping area. During the action of the last couple of minutes, in which this part of the stage is darkening, another member of the homeless has traded places with Mike, so that without seeing this actor's face, we can imagine that it is Mike's body, while the Mike that is about to enter is his out-of-body self. Tony walks over to the Mike's body and tries to wake him.
Mike! Mike! Come on now! Don't leave me, buddy!
You know, there was a time that I knew all that. I could have told you the exact number of games out of first place that the Sox were at any moment of the season. I probably could have told you that what their current batting averages for everyone on the starting lineup was too. But I told you, I don't care about that anymore. I stopped caring a long time ago.
Right. You gave up the fight.
No, I fought. It's the others that abandoned me. You know, when I was discharged, just a little while after you had passed me by at the hospital on your USO tour, I came home with only one concern. And that was to see that nobody else was going to have to go through what I did. Have to lose their life or come home crippled for no reason.
Crippled? You seem to be able to walk just fine.
Oh, Barbara Bush can walk. Do you see her on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Is Barbara Bush a cripple?
Well, because she still bases the one thing you couldn't do. You know, we're crippled the moment we are robbed of the God, of the ability to do anything and everything our talents have designed us for.
What kind of ability?
What are you talking about?
You were about to say, God-given.
Fuck you. I'm sorry, Julian. I'm sorry. Henderson would be chasing my record, not Lou Brock's. I mean, can I do that after?
That's what kept you from holding down a job in your father's insurance business?
Fuck the insurance business!
That caused you to tell your girl you never wanted to see her again?
Yes!
You know, sooner or later we all get to the point where it's time to quit crying in front of our lockers. Join our teammates in their celebration.
I had no teammates.
We both had them, Mike. The ones that picked us up when we were down.
I'm not talking about that fight. It's the larger one where she left me to die on the battlefield.
Ginger was always...
No! You shut up about her.
My father asked me to choose baseball over Judy. Lord knows what you chose over Ginger.
I chose the girl I knew who she'd become. The girl I fell in love with, who... That girl, her dreams were as real as yours and mine.
Yes, the real ones. And just what was it that you said about the other
So
ones?
as long as she was willing to fight for them. And then one day she just quit.
You spoke of other dreams, the ones that are illusory. You said that they are what end up ruining them for all the rest of us.
Yes. And then there are those that aren't real. Because they never existed. Because some don't have the vision to even see them. Not any at all.
And that's what you think she became.
That's how you want to put it. But the girl I knew would have never...
How was she different, Mike?
From the girl I knew? The girl that nursed me back to health? You know, it was she, 4 times, started to get me to change back from what I'd become.
What you become?
Doing my year over. No. You know, during that all too brief period in the summer of '68, almost even got me to reconsider my feelings towards
Towards what?
you know what? You know what, if it wasn't for the doctor's orders about the needing to stay on my feet for a few months, I would have come out to California and joined her.
It gave you something to believe in again, didn't it?
Yes.
And at the time, you didn't consider it such a silly slogan, did you?
At the time? No. You know, she called me from the hotel that night.
Images of Bobby Kennedy dying on the kitchen floor at the Ambassador Hotel up in the background.
She was so excited when she called me to tell me the news. She told me to turn on the television. I rang for my nurse about 1,000 times before she came to turn it on. And then...
We hear gunshots, and the images of Bobby Kennedy disappear.
You know, when McGovern first quoted from that song during the campaign, Bobby asked him after the speech what he meant. Asked if he really believed that the campaign was all just tilting at windmills. He said, "No, I don't think it's impossible. I just wanted them to know it was worth making the effort, whether you win or lose."
He was right. It was. In the end, it's not the losing that kills you. It's not being allowed to play. It's worth it. All of a sudden, it wasn't.
So you've spent the last 20 years since then slowly working and killing yourself.
And it looks like I've succeeded.
You're not dead, you've got a pulse.
I want to check again.
Hands in the newspaper.
I think you should have a look at this.
Red Sox legend, Tony Conigliaro, dead at 45.
As soon as I recognized you, I knew I was dead.
That's funny, I don't see your name anywhere in here.
Other people don't generally carry on conversations with the dead. How the hell does this not face you anyways? You act like you do.
I did know.
How did you know? And how did you know all that shit about me? What I did when I got home? My father's business, Ginger? I never told you her name. Hell, I never even told you my name. How did you know all this? You don't know me.
Well, we've been through this. I do know you.
I'm not even the reason you're here.
Yes. Yes, you are.
You told me you were here for Freddie.
I've been to.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I knew I couldn't help you unless I got you to open up and tell me some of these things on your own.
Well, you haven't helped me. Just do whatever it is you came to do and get it over with.
I'm doing it right now.
Look, are you here to take me home or wherever it is I'm supposed to go?
Oh,
Of course. There is nowhere, is it? That's it.
I didn't say that.
So is somebody on their way to to take you.
Tony indicates the body.
That's for you to determine, Mike.
What the fuck is that supposed to be?
Once you figure that out, my job here will be done.
You know, if you're not going to sign that bat, can I just get it back? Give it back to me.
No, I don't think so.
What?
So long as you're clinging to this talisman, window shopping for Camelot, there's nothing anybody can do for you.
Window shopping for Camelot.
Did you know that one of the only reasons I didn't sign with Baltimore is that their offer was the same amount that Boston was offering?
And?
Well, that if they'd offered more money, which they didn't, I would have signed with them. At the time, I'd never seen the inside of Fenway. Remember what we talked about, Mike? We were competitors. We knew that baseball was a game to be played, not to be watched as spectators.
I did play. You know what stopped me.
So did many others, Mike. But you didn't want them on your team unless you saw them emerging from the mists of one of Merlin's spells. Those you and I wept for were not the once and future king. I am not Lancelot, and this is not Excalibur.
He exits. The backdrop is illuminated by the footage of Ted Kennedy delivering the final part of his eulogy to Bobby.
My brother need not be idealized or enlarged in death beyond that which he was in life, but to be remembered simply as a good and decent man who saw wrong and tried to right it, who saw suffering and tried to heal it, who saw war and tried to stop it. Those of us who loved him and take him to his rest today pray that what he was to us and what he wished for others will someday come to pass for all the world. As he said many times in many parts of this nation, to those he touched and sought to touch him, some see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not?
No. Don't leave me here. I don't deserve this. What do you think you're trying to teach me with all of this? Just what the hell do you think you know about me?
Far more than you'll ever realize.
I know who you are. Where's your brother? And where's my bat?
You know, everybody remembers what happened at Fenway back in '67. But almost nobody knows about the second pitch that hit him 15 years later. The one that he, unlike you, couldn't pick himself up from. And then there are those that know about what happened on that drive to the airport.
I wonder if I somehow am responsible for him dying.
And they wonder if it had anything to do with the beating. Of course it didn't.
Tony and station manager walk into the scene.
At the beginning of the 1982 season, Tony was given the opportunity to replace Ken Harrelson as the color commentator for the Sox. Ken Harrelson, the man who had replaced him first as the guy that played right field for Boston, and then as the guy that dated Judy Marshall.
Well, Mr. Conigliaro, with the work in broadcasting you've done in California, I'd say your resume is very strong. Mr. Martin was very impressed with your audition. But you see, here's the problem. We like having somebody on the air that the locals can relate to. And your past with the team is great there. But you've been out of the game for so long now that nobody around here really knows who you are anymore.
What did you say?
No one knows him.
Excuse me a minute. Excuse me. I just want to ask you a question. In baseball, who is known as Tony C?
Tony Conigliaro, best ball player ever to come out of Boston.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you. But can you tell me who Conig is?
Tony Conigliaro homered his first time up at Fenway.
You were saying?
Welcome aboard.
It was just after that meeting that Tony had another appointment. Scouting the potential clients in Florida for a new sports management firm, one that was one of his old teammates was setting up. It was my job to give him that fateful ride to the airport. From the moment we got into the car, all we could talk about was how excited he was about the fortunate turn of events.
You know, Billy, it's gonna be great being back in Boston with the family again.
And yet you're leaving us again already.
I won't be gone long.
You know that house right next to Mom and Dad's is for sale.
Well, you think you have to tell me that?
We just went on about how bright the future was looking. It was when I started teasing him about a girl, and he didn't answer. He just started wheezing. I asked again. He looked over. His hands were. He held tightly against. Tony!
We hear the sound of the car speeding off as the lights go out on Tony.
We were almost to the airport, but I turned the car around. Possibly the worst mistake I've ever made.
The lights go out as we hear the engine roaring, horn honking, etc. Finally, we hear the sound of him skidding to a stop in front of the hospital. We hear voices in the darkness. A nurse approaches the car.
Sir, you can't park here.
Give me a hand to the damn it, get him inside!
I can't feel a pulse.
Help me, please!
Lights come up on Billy in the waiting room.
Please, God, don't let him die.
He can't hear you. He never does.
Mr. Conigliaro,
Yes.
your brother's condition has stabilized. The doctors had a very difficult time at it, but they have been able to get his heart going again.
Thank God.
Unfortunately, there have been a few complications. Will you come with me, please?
They walk out of the light, leaving Mike there alone.
Billy. Billy. Where'd you go, man? Don't leave me here. Somebody say something.
The lights come up on the whole stage. Tony is off stage, and the rest of the cast have returned to their homeless attire. Other than the one cast member who has now taken Mike's place to play his body, the scene looks exactly as it did when the curtain rose. Mike walks over to the trash can and tries to get the attention of the other homeless people standing there.
Can you hear me?
You pitied him for all that he endured when he did show, then turned your backs and could not see the true depths of his woe. If you had seen, you would not tell of things you cannot buy, while watching as he was held for 8 years until he died.
Please, don't leave me here. Please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me.
End of Act 1.
It's not what I wanted. It's not. So this is it. That figures. Bench warmer for all eternity. 26th man on the roster to watch this pennant race from afar. I thought it couldn't get any worse than that game with St. Mary's. Oh, Coach Bueller, yeah, he was going to put me into the game. Just like now. Always a justification.
Seek not to justify the pain you can't alleviate. Look to its roots, and soon you'll gain keys to a better state. If ignorance your nature makes, turn against its better part. Avoid that voice and from your tapes, that fire out of your heart.
Yeah, Tony. You couldn't stand to watch it on television. You wanted to just charge right through the screen and pick up a bat. But what if it was these assholes you were watching? So you'd want to grab a bat and beat the shit out of them. What am I supposed to learn from this? Why don't you just give me something different, for Christ's sake? Something that'll help me.
Ginger enters. The backdrop is illuminated with images that place us in a locker room. Sounds of the victory celebration are heard in the background.
Oh, wait.
Michael?
Good job. Those guys.
Please, not this. Please, not this.
Michael!
Oh, Ginger, what are you doing here? The cops will be back in a minute.
Well, then we don't have a lot of time.
Oh, Ginger.
No, Michael. We need to talk.
About what?
That recruiter from Harvard. Right now, before anyone forgets this season, would be a good time to talk to him about that scholarship.
Oh, I don't know about that, Ginger.
Michael, we've talked about this.
I know. But you know, that scout's here from Detroit. He was in the stands watching the game today, and that's why I needed to get back and get dressed quickly. I gotta go out there before he gets away.
That's why you're not celebrating with your friends.
Yeah, well, that and
What, Michael?
nothing.
Still sore about that game with St. Mary's?
No, it's not it at all.
Well, what is bothering you then?
Never mind.
No, what is it?
Nothing. It's just, look, it's Walter's big day, and he deserves a chance to be able to celebrate.
Have you congratulated Walter?
Of course I have.
Then why aren't you with him and the rest of your team?
I told you.
It really bothers you that much?
What are you talking about?
That his shutout means he's going to be named MVP instead of you.
Well, that's got nothing to do with it.
Well, you think all those runs you scored throughout the season had nothing to do with why you're here?
Yeah, you're right.
All right then.
Oh, but next season?
What?
Oh, you know, I still got my senior year ahead of me, and so next year, when we win the state championship a second time, I'm going to be the one that takes home that trophy.
Michael.
Oh, sorry. Okay, darn trophy. and that scout, he'll just have to wait. I mean, by the time I graduate, I'm going to have get offers from every team in the big leagues.
Yes, but we need to talk
I
about...
mean, I don't care if it's for less money or not. I'm just going to sign with the hometown team, just like Tony C did.
Honey, what about
The
Harvard?
Sox are going to be contenders again. Just mark my words. Just a couple of years, when they get old Mike Mac Dog Malone in the league, oh, I'll be the one that scores all the runs for them. The guy that gets on base, steals to get into the scoring position for Tony C to drive in when the Sox start the rally. Oh, and when I do that,
Live, I don't know, but it's been said.
I don't know, but it's been said.
Your impossible dreams as good as dead.
Your impossible dreams as good as dead.
I don't know, but it's been told.
I don't know, but it's been told.
The flame is growing mighty cold.
The flame is growing mighty cold.
Hey, ha! Hello!
sir,
Open your footlocker, soldier! Hello!
sir,
Just what in the hell is this that you're keeping in your footlocker? I ask you a question, Private Malone!
sir, it's a baseball card, sir.
And why are you keeping it in your locker, Malone?
Sir, because I'm a ball player, sir.
A ball player. Now let me ask you something, Malone. Why are you here today?
Sir, because I was drafted, sir.
And why do you suppose your Uncle Sam sent you that draft notice? What are you in this army for, Malone?
Defend Wall Street's investments,
What was that?
Sir, I don't know why, sir.
You don't know. Well, let me help you out, soldier. You are defending honor, Malone. The honor of your country. Defending it against all of its enemies. And that means readying yourself in mind, body, and spirit to kill B.C. Gooks and all of the sons of bitches that stand in the way of that honor. Do I make myself clear?
Sir, yes, sir.
Now, where in that equation does a bunch of faggots hitting a ball with a stick and running around in little sissy circles around a series of pillows serve that objective?
Sir, it doesn't, sir.
You're goddamn right it doesn't.
He tears the card up and throws the pieces to the ground.
What's the matter? You gonna cry? Oh no. You want to take a swing at me, boy? Oh, I think you do. Well, come on, please. Come on, you little pussy.
He slaps Mike.
Well, there are those tears. Go ahead and cry for your mama. Men! Now, you may all think I'm a real mean son of a bitch. But when you're out there, when you're facing the enemy, when it's kill or be killed, when you first see the mangled bodies of the friends who didn't want to fire first, because they were concerned with what a rough life some poor commie goop must have had, you'll realize I'm not doing you boys any favor by letting you get soft. And someday, you'll thank me for this.
You know, Tony told you it was the USO tour that really changed him. Made him see things clearly for the first time.
Billy pushes Tony downstage in the wheelchair. He is in a vegetative state, but clutches the back across the chair. Billy holds a copy of his brother's 1970 autobiography, Seeing It Through.
Billy, Tony, Bat.
After
Billy
that,
reads.
I was done feeling sorry for myself. And being bitter over something as insignificant as an eye injury. What a bunch of crap. Oh, I'm not saying my brother was a liar. But let's keep in mind that he wrote that in 1970. 1970, the year his eyesight had temporarily improved long enough to return to the lineup. Win the Comeback Player of the Year award. And post-career best home run total.
That's not what happened.
The backdrop was lit up with the famous VJ Day photograph of the sailor kissing the nurse.
You know, at this point in time, I don't imagine either of these two people were very bitter about Pearl Harbor.
Comeback Player of the Year award.
Huh? Did you say something? Can you hear me? Come on, take it easy. Breathe. Breathe. Comeback Player of the Year award. After missing all of the '68 season, nobody gave him a chance of ever playing again. But it was opening day of the '69 season, his first day back, with his brother as his new teammate, that I'll remember most of all. Went into extra innings. And in the 10th, Tony knocked a Pete Richard fastball over the left field fence to win the game.
Actually, my homer didn't win the game. Baltimore tied it up in the bottom of the 10th, and we subsequently won it in 12.
I like to think that award was given on the basis of that one swing alone.
Of course, we would have lost in 10 without my homer, and it was I that scored the winning run on Jones's sacrifice fly in the 12th. But Billy's version of the story was naturally the one the press preferred.
When he got back to the dugout, we were all surrounding him, pounding him on the back, hugging him to death. And then guess who comes over to put the finishing touches on the celebration?
He did it without his butt last year, and will do it without his butt this year.
He leaned over to my brother, kissed him on the cheek. I'll never forget what Tony said to me about it after the game.
At that moment, I could have bit him on the neck.
He could have bit him on the neck. Now, Tony, he didn't have a lot to be bitter about that year. But it's these past 8. Listening to the wheezing, the coughing, dropping suggestions to the doctors and nurses. And when they don't take the hints, asking them flat out if there's anything I can do to help my brother die without going to prison. I think then is when he learned just how much in the scheme of things it really matters to be better than Williams. Or to bring home the MVP trophy.
Don't you start.
These last 8 years have taught him what it means to lose the things that really matter.
You know, history isn't made by the men who focus on the things that really matter.
My brother loved to eat.
Now he's fed through it too.
He loved to sing.
Now we can barely talk.
He loved to dance.
Now he can't walk.
He loved his family and his friends.
Now he can barely recognize them.
You know, if Henry Ford was more interested in family, your brother would have spent his bonus money on a bicycle. If Christopher Columbus was concerned with himself with all that shit, the world would still be flat. What the hell do you know?
Billy hands his brother a little bell.
I'm going into the other room now, Billy. Let me know if you need anything. Ring the bell.
Yeah, Mike. After the trade, I was still bitter over my career. You better believe it. But who knows? If I hadn't been sent out to California against my will, I might not have landed my first broadcasting gig out there. I might never have gotten to meet Sam and Sharon.
In a hospital waiting room.
Tony.
Sharon, did you?
Yes. We decided to do what the doctors recommended.
Sharon, you didn't have to.
It's what Sam would have wanted. I know it. He always told me. But
Oh, I'm so sorry. You want me to go back in there with you?
no, Tony, it's all right.
You're not going to.
No.
Sharon, you can't. Just.
Yes. I can. This is also something about which Sam made his intentions very clear. I was with him and his mother. Those last 3 hours, he sat there holding her hand, watching and waiting. It was not the warmest of memory of her to be his last. He always told me that if he hadn't stayed there in that room, his last memory of her could have been what she said to him before she closed her eyes that one last time. She sat up and met him. She said, "I've lived a good life." That would have been a pretty good last memory. Sam said that it was always those last 3 hours ruined it. I've always felt the same way.
Is there anything I can do?
Doing it right now, Tony. Just keep being around for us. Come stop by the house and see the girls. You've been like a second father to them. They're going to need you in their life now more than ever.
Of course. Look, Sharon, I know this is a lousy time for me to be asking anything of you, but given the nature of the request, I think now is a better time than any to ask you.
What, Tony?
Seeing Sam these past few months, it's hard to imagine what he's been going through. And given the fact that for some people it lasts for years and years, I can only attribute it to how truly blessed he's been by God's infinite mercy that it's only been for a couple of months. I know I haven't done anything to deserve that mercy.
None of us ever will.
No, we won't. But I'm not the type to wait around for something I know isn't coming. Sharon, promise me that if I'm ever like that you'll pull the plug on me. My family will never do it, but that's no way to live.
I promise, Tony. I promise.
A nurse enters.
Miss Henshaw?
Lights out on them as Mike enters in a different stage area. He is in a cap and gown from his high school graduation.
Forgot to tell her the reason that that mutual friend of yours saw fit to torture you for the last 8 years. Because he loves you.
Lights back up on Tony in his wheelchair.
Yes, Mike. Tortured. You know, there's a lot of people who would say that.
What?
Forget it, you wouldn't understand.
Ginger enters.
Congratulations, Michael.
For what?
You know what?
Oh, a brilliant season?
That was your choice, Michael. Nothing in that draft notice told you you couldn't play.
Or for the bright future ahead of me.
It's still there. When you come back,
If I don't?
don't talk like that. I'll be right here waiting for you. We can talk about college.
No, you don't have to wait for me. Or for anything. If you want to see other people.
Michael. Now, we've already talked about this. We don't even have to wait. Come with me, Michael. We can go to Canada.
I'm not going to fucking Canada.
Michael, watch your mouth.
You know, a man doesn't get to choose his country any more than he gets to choose his teammates.
You'll be in my prayers every day you're away. Sweetheart, you don't ever forget to always put your faith in God. Whatever happens to you, He'll always be with you. If you'll just keep your heart open for Him, He'll always find a way in.
stands there for a moment and then opens up his hand to see what she placed in it. It's a rosary.
Yeah, Ginger. Keep up with your prayers, and in the meantime, I'll just pray to the little green aliens I believe created the universe.
And you wonder why nobody...
Hey, what makes her God any more real than my aliens? What the hell? Maybe I should have carried this around in one pocket and a little Buddha in the other. Not like their idols are any stronger than hers. At least I can see the Buddha.
He goes off and the lights come up on the homeless behind Tony.
Well, Mike, sometimes I wonder how many of these people ended up here. Evicted from their homes because they chose not to pay bills. Not to any collection agency whose officers they couldn't see in person.
Lights out on the homeless.
If they'd never actually seen these people, well then, they probably didn't exist.
Tony returns to his vegetative state as Billy and Sharon walk downstage.
You didn't know that the airports are where you...
Yes, I know that now!
I'm sorry.
You all know now that the airport had a completely operational set of medical facilities.
Lights up on Jack.
You never wanted to consider the possibility that the heart attack might have been brought on by a blood clot he had in his head for years.
By turning the car around to get him to the hospital where I was dating the nurse, I had a good 5 to 10 minutes as his brain went without oxygen.
Might have
Chilly.
been there ever since. I don't know.
It only takes 3 or 4 before brain damage occurs.
Probably harder for you to accept that possibility. You being the only one who thought that I...
Billy, just don't do this to yourself.
I'm not. Everyone else does that for me.
Scoreless pitcher's duel. You really think I deliberately put someone on base to start that rally that beat me?
They've all got their opinions on what I should have done.
You don't have to listen to them.
I don't. Believe me. If I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I'd just pull the car off the side of the road so I could say goodbye to my brother that I love.
Billy, don't say that. Is there any way he can...
No. Brain damage is irreversible. The doctors say...
Couldn't the doctors be wrong? I mean, he's such a fighter, and the doctors have been wrong before. They said he'd never play again. Billy, do you think he can recognize us? Does he know we're even here? Does he recognize us?
I prefer to think that he doesn't.
Tony, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry this had to happen. I'm sorrier still that I can't be the friend to you that you were to Sam. That I swore that I would be to you. I made a promise many years ago, but now I look and there isn't any plug for me to pull.
She goes off as the backdrop is illuminated by images that place us in a meadow. It's 1969. Mike and Ginger sit at opposite ends of a blanket. Ginger is finishing getting dressed at one end, while Mike faces away from her, smoking a joint. Tony observes from his separate stage area.
You know, I wasn't expecting a speech, but it wouldn't kill you to say something to me.
Thank you.
That's all you have to say?
Don't you have something to say about this to me?
What's the point? It's your body.
It's kind of hard to imagine that the girl I left behind saying that.
Maybe that's the difference between you and me, Michael. I don't need to take out my paintbrush and brush all over your imperfections before the likeness of Prince Charming is close enough for me to accept. All right, fine. What do you want me to say? Yeah, it is a bit demoralizing. Shows me what I'm stuck with. A bitter, broken down, foul-mouthed pain in the neck that's very difficult to be around. And that I'm the one whose burden it is to love him in spite of it all.
Your burden.
It's not just our country, but a lot of things we don't get to choose, Michael.
Well, we both got to choose this.
So is that it? You didn't like the location? Would have preferred that hotel room you rented for us on prom night? Or the room at my parents' house, right next to where my father was sleeping?
No, that's not it at all.
Then what is it, Michael?
You know, it's what you said to me those times. The way you never let me touch you. It took me 6 months to be able to put my arms around you in the movie theater. I liked that.
All right, fine. Look at it as part of your rehabilitation. Be happy that you've just proved you could do one thing the doctors weren't sure you'd ever be able to do again.
Now you know why I didn't want to talk.
We're going to have to talk about it sooner or later, Michael. The fact you don't want to acknowledge that you're an able-bodied man,
Able-bodied.
there's more to life than what goes on a baseball diamond.
Funny. You sound like someone I used to know.
You know, not everything is black and white, Michael.
Well, that's probably why it was so easy for you to put on that fucking Humphrey button.
Yes, it was. Because it just might be possible to split the difference between those who refuse to show compassion to a wounded man for fear that it'll make him soft, and those who feel that we all owe Tony Conigliaro an apology for having 2 good eyes.
Once again, we see that I'm not the only one that's changed.
I'm the same girl, Mike. You're just seeing her for the first time.
Oh, I saw you, Ginger.
No, you didn't. You saw what you wanted to see. When your father first told
No,
you...
I wouldn't work for that man.
Please, don't interrupt. Now, your father... Okay, when my father first explained to you that all the stuff under my tree didn't come from a jolly fat man from the North Pole that had slid down our chimney to the night before, I was disappointed. But you know something? I got over it.
You don't know a thing about my father.
Look, whatever he's done to earn your resentment...
My resentment? What would your Professor Steinbaum have to say about working for a man like that?
How should I know?
Well, that's right, you wouldn't. Because you don't know my father. You want to know who it was that I first learned about that word that you worked so hard for me to try to not use? The one who first convinced me of the moral imperatives of kill the commie gooks? I'll give you that. It wasn't Sergeant Rogers.
You think the fact that my father used those terms means that...
You know why I never went back to LA to give Manny's family his dog tax like I promised him I would? I wasn't still recuperating. No, I felt fine. But Dad wouldn't give me the money. He said he couldn't see any reason why I needed to spend any more time on that spit kid. What would your Steinbaum have to say about that? Or what about the campus civil rights clubs and your friends from the Kennedy campaign?
The senator would have pitied your father, Michael.
Pity them. Give me a fucking break.
You know, I was with Bobby during the Indiana primary when he toured the Ford plant. Right there in one of those precincts that had gone heavily for Wallace in '64. After all of his remarkable successes in turning those blue-collar workers around for him, the only one he kept remembering was the one that had refused his outstretched hand. Told him to get his fucking nigger-loving presence out of there.
Of course. That's the one word you would remember.
No, Mike. For a different reason. He looked at him and then he looked around at all of his co-workers in the plant. And how many of them were black? He said, imagine what he must be like inside. Imagine having to work next to those people when you feel that way.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Think about it, Michael. You tell me.
You know, the girl I left behind would have never repeated what that man said. And now we see where that went.
Go fuck yourself.
Go after
after her!
Tony gets up from the wheelchair, walks over to Mike. The images of the meadow disappear from the backdrop.
Go after her, you dumb bastard!
Oh, what the fuck is it to you?
Don't give up the fight, Mike!
I didn't! She did.
She did.
The moment she put on that goddamn Humphrey button. I told you, it's not the losing I couldn't take. It was having teammates who didn't want to play.
She didn't want to play? What do you think she's been doing these past 20 years?
The backdrop is illuminated with images that place us inside the House of Representatives, while we hear a congressman.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, this past year we've seen the Berlin Wall come down. As this great nation celebrates its victory, the Cold War, we face new challenges as the world's only remaining superpower. This distinguished body is faced with a historic choice when we are asked how we are going to invest the political capital won in this great victory. There has been talk of a so-called peace dividend to be invested in our crumbling infrastructure and in the domestic needs of the future. For the cost it takes to maintain just one of our aircraft carriers for 1 year, this body could appropriate sufficient funding to build 17,000 homes for 67,000 people. Enroll an additional 384,000 children in Head Start. Provide drug and alcohol treatment to 333,000 people. Or give 500,000 malnourished children 3 hot meals a day for a year. Instead, we are asked by the President to approve funding for a perpetually overgrown military machine to usher in a new world order, in which our job in the world is to continually find a much weaker enemy, for whom our challenge will be not simply to defeat them, but to defeat them decisively and rapidly. This past year, our president found the first of these much weaker enemies in Noriega. And now he asks us to be on guard against another dictator whom this body has consistently provided with the funds he needs to kill Iranians, lest he carry out his threat to move against the Kawati monarchy that has been the consistent ally of the oil companies. He talks of the need to kick what he calls the Vietnam syndrome. Mr. Speaker, as somebody who has been seeing firsthand the lives devastated by that horrific war, and who has subsequently observed the resulting syndrome of an America whose citizens ask questions of their government when they are asked to blindly follow the leader. The national sickness of a citizenry that does not believe the lies fed to them by their government. If such a syndrome is an illness that has been afflicting this nation for the past 20 years, then I say God bless it. No blood for oil, Mr. President. No blood for oil.
Lights out on Ginger as the congressional images disappear.
Did that sound like someone who's given up fighting?
Sounded like someone who just liked to hear self-talk. It's like all the rest. Do you think that speech is going to change anything?
Maybe some people do. You used to.
Yeah, and I also used to think that I was going to live long enough to see the Sox beat the curse of the Bambino.
So then which one is it, Mike?
Which one is it?
I think you're confused, my friend. You need to make up your mind.
What are you talking about?
Just what is it about her that you couldn't have? The fact that she usually came to the conclusion that you've got to choose your battles? Didn't always want to take on Goliath when nothing good could possibly come of it?
You don't know shit about her any more than you know
Or
about
is
me.
it for the times that she does conclude that it's time to stand and fight? That it doesn't matter whether or not you win. And then she doesn't. At the end of the day, it is just the losing that you can't take, isn't it? And she was an easier target for your resentment than Sarah had, wasn't she?
Let me ask you again. What is it to you?
I happen to know what it's like to have to look back with regret on all of the things you've done to cripple yourself.
Lights up on the homeless.
If substance is your senses dim, the will to seek what's right, dispose of them and then begin again with all your might. If present days cannot abate past pains you hold inside, work now to build that better state, to heal your wounded pride.
So all the things you've done to cripple yourself, you did all this to yourself. Did you throw that fastball at your own face?
No, but that's not the pitch I'm talking
What,
about.
you gave yourself a heart attack?
That's not the pitch I'm talking about either.
Then what are you talking about, Tony?
Did you know that Ted Williams missed some of his best years too? Flying combat missions, first over Germany and then Korea. Right during the prime of his career.
He fought in a just war. And he came back in one piece, didn't he?
That's not the point, Mike. He volunteered. And think of how many homers he'd have hit if he'd have stayed home. There's a reason my manager didn't take too kindly to the cocky kid who said he was going to be better than
I can't
him.
believe you're defending that asshole.
People of his generation weren't born assholes. They got that way after watching people from ours do our service to the country in the reserves. Then come up to the big leagues saying we're going to be better than those who know the meaning of sacrifice.
You cried for Jack Kennedy.
Lights up on the homeless.
I also used to get really pissed off when the newspapers printed stories about my carousing off the field.
Baby boomers.
I wanted to party.
And then expected the press to portray you as the choir boy.
The baby boomers.
Phillip, I'm rail teller, but don't expect me to put on a
The
uniform.
me generation.
Fully fund my entitlements, but don't expect me to pay taxes.
You know, there were good reasons our generation loved Jack Kennedy so much. Trouble is, we put our own little twist on what it was he had to say to us.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask how much your country can do for you, and how little you can do in return.
Lights out on the homeless.
They can come in the form of baseballs, blood clots, or from out of the barrel of an AK-47. But in the end, you'll find that the most crippling beanballs are the ones we throw at our own heads.
You know what the fuck you're talking about.
You wouldn't mind showing me your arm before you say that, would you?
He tries to pull up his sleeve to look for needle marks, but Mike pulls away.
Suit yourself. In the end, it catches up to you. Just like the consequences of my behavior off the field will always continue to hurt a lot more than anything I can blame on Jack Hamilton. Even indirectly.
So it's your own fault that you're in there, huh?
No! When you get to where I am, your regrets are not going to be with all the years you might have had, but what you chose to do with all the years God did decide to bless you with.
Judy approaches the casket.
Or more accurately, what you didn't do.
Hey, you've got your father to blame for that.
I never blame my parents for anything. We all make our own choices. Besides, I wasn't talking about her.
Judy places a flower on the casket and steps aside. An 18-year-old girl, Jennifer, approaches the casket.
Where is she?
You know, some people didn't want me to let you in. But all it took was one look at you and your big brown eyes, and I knew you were telling the truth. Hell, I knew it even before you even opened your mouth.
I wish I could have stopped by and met your family earlier, but with my mother. Well, this was something she always tried to so hard to keep from me.
Knowing my brother the way I did, and talking to people like Sharon Henshaw, and so many others. If only he'd known. no matter how it had to happen. He would have been thrilled. Just to,
I know.
I know it's not nearly worth as much now, but please stay in touch. Come meet my mother.
I will.
You need your mom. You're the only thing we all have left.
Jennifer goes back to the casket.
Goodbye to Tony. You know, for a long time I've just been so excited to tell the world about all this, but in my house it was always expressly forbidden. My mother wouldn't allow it. She said she always kept it from me to protect me. She's a private woman. She didn't want money, didn't want attention, and didn't want to see me get hurt. She always feared I'd be rejected by the Conigliaros. I guess that goes to show just how little she really knows this family. Then one day, I'm riding with her in the car and we hear the news bulletin on the radio about the heart attack. We get home, and all the talk around the neighborhood regarding the news is all about how finally I couldn't take it anymore, and I just came into the house and said, "Mom, is that guy on TV my father?" I guess she never knew any more about baseball than she did about the family, and she always wanted to deny it. When she first saw you signing autographs at that New England sports convention, she had no idea who you were. All I knew is he was cute, she said. And when I asked her if she was in love with you during the 3 months that followed, she just said, it wasn't love, it was the 70s. I'm not running from the past anymore. When they have that benefit at Fenway next year, honoring the 67 Impossible Dreams season, the whole team is going to be represented, even those who didn't make the final cut for the World Series roster. When it's Tony C's turn in the lineup, he'll have a teammate there to pitch hit for him. Bye, Dad.
She leans forward and kisses the casket, while Tony leans over and hugs her from behind. He follows her down and places his head on the casket next to hers. He backs away as she stands and steps aside. Billy and Jack pick up the casket and carry it off as pallbearers, as the lights fade on all that makes the stage area.
I picked myself up from the first pitch that knocked me down. The one life threw at me 15 years later was an agonizing process. It took 8 long years, but I got up from that one as well. The ones we throw at our own heads, we don't get those back, Mike. Never. When certain people are willing to pitch it for you, you don't cry in front of your locker about not making the starting lineup. You consider yourself blessed that they've asked you to be the 26th man on their roster.
The lights begin to dim and the sounds of the battle in Vietnam start again.
Hey, where do you think you're going?
In the darkness, the battle sounds grow louder and louder.
What is this shit? Don't you get it? I don't have a place on anyone's roster. Not on anybody's. Nobody's ever given a shit about me. There's only one. And Uncle Sam turned her against me. Turned her against me. Who's going to be my pinch hitter? Nobody. Why do you give a contract to a guy that has never been thrown anything over his plate in his whole life? Not one damn thing! You see what I'm saying? Of course you don't. don't understand, Tony. You don't understand.
Lights slowly begin to come up on the whole stage. The original setting of the homeless encampment has been reset, with all actors in their original locations, including Mike, who is stepping back into his body as he finishes his rant.
You shit about me, Tony. You don't know me.
Hey, shut the fuck up, you crazy bastard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nightmare.
Yeah. What else is new?
Obviously not much. I think wait a minute. You can see me.
Yeah, I always do. Unfortunately. Why don't you keep your shit away from mine for a change?
He kicks some of Mike's shit over towards him, and Mike starts searching through it.
Sorry.
He continues searching through the stuff, and sure enough, the bat is there.
Dear Mike, you may not know where they are or even that they exist, but there are people who would be honored to have you on their rosters. Remember, it takes all 25, or in my case 26, to have a real championship season. Best wishes, Tony C.
Somebody, please. Hey, mister. Mister. Sir.
End of play.